Hello again, ladies. I hope you're all feeling well and enjoying being pregnant still, getting out for your hours exercise. Walking is obviously really good. And welcome to another yoga class. So we heard from Natalie last week. We just heard that she'd had her baby, little Kenzie, and everything was going well. But she sent us her full birth story this week, so we're going to start with that. So she writes, "Hi Liz and lovely yoga ladies. I hope you're all keeping well in this crazy time. As promised, here's my birth story. Sorry it took a while to get to you, but managing 24/7 milk bar with a very demanding customer took some getting used to. I woke up at 4:40 a.m. needing a wee, but quickly realised that my waters broke. As I had no contractions at the time and felt good, I decided to have a shower and get myself ready before waking up my husband and calling the hospital. I'm not sure if I would have reacted the same way if not for Emily, Ruby's mum's, sorry if I got the name wrong, sharing her story with the class. So that's a story that she's heard in class already, and that's just how important these stories are, because you learn an awful lot from them. And and here she's learnt to, I think, really cherish those moments. We've spoken about that before, haven't we? Those first moments when you maybe realise you're in labour in the early hours of the morning, there's no one around, there's not that rush, you don't need to necessarily wake anyone up or go into sort of full labour mode. And yeah, it's a really special, magical time to have to yourself. So she's saying that she remembers that story in class, so a huge thank you to her. She inspired me to remain calm. I then woke up my hubby and called the hospital. We arrived at William Harvey Hospital around 6:45 a.m. and went straight to the Singleton ward, where midwife confirmed that my waters broke, and after a few more checks decided to send us home as I still had no contractions. She booked us in to come back the next day to be induced if labour didn't start on its own. So off we went to relax at home. Hubby was very happy that he had a bit more time to finish the work in the little one's nursery. I got my very first weak contraction in the car as we reached home. Isn't that typical? All the way to the hospital and back, and then starting to feel it just as you get home again. And around 9:30 a.m. And in a short time it took my husband to make me coffee and croissant for breakfast. My contractions were 5 minutes apart, and I had a constant feeling of needing to go to the toilet, during which time I noticed some blood on my pad and called the hospital to check. Midwife informed me that this was probably my show and perfectly normal, and reassured me that it would be better for me to stay at home until my contractions were 3 minutes apart and then call back. So your show, we've talked about this again in the class, it can be a little bit bloody, a little bit gooey, a little bit snot-like, which is a weird thing to say, but it's called kind of, mucousy little plug, as the name suggests. That is just showing that your body's getting ready for labour. So it's almost like the plug, really, keeping everything in and up in the cervix, and it's just beginning to open up, and there's that discharge. So it's very exciting when that happens. Not everyone spots it, it can happen at a later stage when other things are going on, or it can happen maybe when you're on the toilet and you don't notice it at all. And it can happen a week or so before you actually do have your baby. So although it's very exciting, it's not always a definite that things are going to happen in the next few hours. But it's a good sign. Things are starting to get ready. So she's been advised to still wait and wait at home, which is good. It's always advisable to spend as much time at home as you can. So then followed another call, and I was then advised to go straight to the labour ward to check my bleeding, and once cleared I would be sent downstairs to the Singleton ward. So we were back on our way to the hospital by 9:50. So poor thing, I hope she got her croissant. Back and forth from the hospital, and she says that this, with the Sunday drivers and my contractions coming so strong and fast, it seemed like the longest journey ever. The only thing that helped me during this time was the breathing. Thank you, Liz, so much for teaching us how to breathe. We all arrived at hospital at 11:40 a.m. I had to stop and kneel down with my next contraction in the car park. We then ran inside, I'm trying to picture that, she ran running inside to get to the labour ward before another one came. Next contraction was in the delivery room after the midwife checked my pad and said to relax as there was plenty of time. I quickly went to the toilet where I had my next contraction and where it all started. I ran, there's a lot of running going on here. I ran back into the delivery room with the head crowning very quickly, got undressed and laid on the bed. Not what I wanted, but there was no time to change position from the bed, and 4 contractions later, there she was. Wow. That is a quick and pretty powerful birth there. So our beautiful little girl Kenzie, who obviously was just raring to get out there, was born 9 days early on the 22nd of March 2020 at 12:07 p.m, weighing 5 pounds and 3 ounces. The best Mother's Day gift ever. We went home the next day and were both doing great. Breastfeeding had its challenges, but it's worth it. And we had our 10-day check and our little chubster put on a whole pound. All of it happened so quickly, and I never would have thought I'd be able to go through labour without any help and pain relief. I didn't even get time to try the gas and air, but I did it. And I found new respect for my body and what it can do. That's a wonderful thing to hear, isn't it? Because, you know, we are all scared when it's your first baby. You don't know what to expect. You don't know your pain levels. You're not aware of how amazing your body really is. So I'm really glad she's learnt that, and glad she's written that down to pass that on. So she says, remember, ladies, that our bodies can do incredible things. So listen to your body and breathe. She's put in big capital letters. Women are amazing. So true, so true. I hope you're all safe and positive during these difficult times. Wishing you all the best from the bottom of my heart, and I hope this madness passes soon enough and we get to meet again at postnatal yoga classes. Oh, Natalia, that is such a lovely thought. I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to seeing you all again and meeting your babies. Liz, once again, thank you so much for your classes and everything you taught me. Oh, that's so lovely. It leaves a lump in my throat, and you know, well done. It's just fantastic. There's a lot to take from that story, isn't it? I mean, obviously Natalia was well tuned into her breathing. Things happened quickly for her, but it doesn't sound like she felt too out of control, which is lovely. Hopefully that was because of the breath. She just kept everything nice and relaxed, didn't let that adrenaline run away with her through the breathing. One thing I thought we'd kind of lead on to there is just looking at something that you can think about when going to the hospital. Excuse me, coming out of shock for a moment. But obviously, particularly at the moment when home births are not happening, everyone will be going to the hospital. So thinking really about how you're going to travel to the hospital. So we have this kind of muscle memory, don't we? We see a car, we see a seat, and we sit down. So you can imagine that there's you travelling off to hospital with your baby in labour, and you're sitting on a chair like so. Probably not even such a nice upright chair, more of a bucket chair in a car. And that's going to be so uncomfortable. You're going to have the baby weight coming back on your spine. You know, you're sitting on your bottom, which, you know, is just not going to be very good for labour, for relaxing. So think again, you could, depending on the shape of your car, you could come over on your front seat, knees onto the seat of the chair, and relax round in this way. It still may be possible to get a belt round you, but it's legal as a pregnant woman, particularly driving to hospital, that you don't have to wear a belt, so don't worry too much about that. Or, even better, and people always laugh when I say this, but think about getting on the back seat. So imagine I'm on the back seat of the car, so the driver, passenger seat in front of me there, and be over on your all fours, okay? You can always get a blanket. Just bearing in mind your posterior may be up against the window, so you can get a blanket, you can wrap that around you, maybe even over your head. Last week we talked about cutting out the light, didn't we, and coming into your cave. So really making that journey to hospital as cave-like as possible. As we also mentioned last week, a lot of people do tend to go into labour at night, so hopefully you're not driving down some busy, bright lit road. There's a little more privacy maybe driving to the hospital at night. But the evenings are staying lighter longer and the mornings are obviously lighter. So yeah, thinking about incognito, getting onto that back seat if you need to, taking baby weight away from the spine. Don't feel like you have to sit all prim and proper in the front seat. So what else did I have to tell you today? Let's grab my birth ball. So as I mentioned then, home births are now obviously not taking place because of the whole virus and safety issues. If you want some really clear guidance on that, I would suggest that you go to the Positive Birth Movement Facebook page. So if you look at Positive Birth Movement Whitstable, there is loads of information on there around, the situation we find ourselves in at the moment. So the Positive Birth Movement Whitstable is the group that runs every month. It's a free group to go to. It's obviously not running at the moment in Whitstable, but it probably means that there's even more power in the information that you can get online through that. So there could be quite a lot of fake news out there, news that's worrying you. So if you go to that website, you'll get honest answers and proper medical advice. So I've also heard from quite a few ladies that are in the class, so thank you for all your support. I'm really glad that you're enjoying these classes. And just to say that I've got birth stories from Sabrina and from Holly, so obviously I'm not going to read those today, but I can't wait to read them to you. We'll save them week on week, so keep those birth stories coming in because they're really great and really inspiring. Today's letter from our ABC, and if you don't have a copy of the ABC top tips for labour, then just go onto my website. You can download it from there, or you can always drop me an email and I'll send it to you. So we are on massage because we're on the letter M. So massage, I hope you ladies are all getting lots of massages. You know how much I nag you in class about this, about going home, getting your partner to give your shoulders a nice rub into the lower back, maybe an arm massage. So in the next week or so, I'm going to put a separate little bit of film online with some tips for massage in. That if nothing else, you can just use as encouragement, with your partners. So massage movement, M is for movement as well. Movement being really important. Movement on that ball being a lovely way to improve the circulation, improve the blood flow all around the pelvis. Keeping moving. Definitely in those early stages of labour, for as long as you can, really using your natural instinct with your movement to really encourage your baby to descend and keep moving, keep birthing. Music is the other one we had on M. So great time at the moment. You've probably got plenty of time on your hands. You can start to put that playlist together to take to the hospital with you. So music can really conjure up different emotions, can't it, within us? It can take you to different places. So maybe there's a holiday playlist, or music that reminds you of somewhere particular that you find very relaxing. Maybe it's more sounds of the environment that you like, you know, bird calls or sounds of the ocean or the rainforest. There is so much out there, and as with everything with giving birth, you really don't know what you're going to want until you're doing it, till you're there in that situation. So I would suggest having several different playlists, if you like, something a bit more upbeat and funky maybe, something more, you know, relaxing and natural, just so that you've got those options and you're not trying to madly find it whilst you're in labour, or your partner's going, well, which one, where was it on Spotify? You know, have a little try out of it, have a little rehearsal first, so that you know what you're doing. Okay, so if you get your bits and pieces ready, you might need a chair or your birth ball if that's to hand, a blanket, a cushion, your mat, or an area that you've got mapped out to practice on. And I'll see you in a moment for some yoga. So our first posture today is going to be just a nice relaxing twist to get us warmed up. So you can either be sitting on your birth ball for this, or using a chair. So if you're sitting on the chair, just making sure that you can sit nice and upright. If possible, having your knees a little bit lower than your hips, so not a chair where your knees are right up like this. So we're in that same position as we're trying to find on the birth ball, knees lower than the hips. And we're just sitting tall. So having a good hip width at least between the feet, so that you can feel settled. Certainly if you're on the ball, you're not feeling like you're going to roll off. And we can just lift and stretch out those toes. So we're growing tall from the floor all the way up. So maybe just closing the eyes for a moment and feeling the floor, the earth beneath your feet. So just settling into the breath, just noticing the breath. Taking the hands onto the thighs, just wherever's comfortable for you, relaxing the shoulders back and down away from the ears. And just slowly becoming aware of the breath. So there's no judgment, no trying to do anything particular with the breath at this moment, just noticing where it sits for you. Maybe noticing how much space you've got for your breath right now. So your breath can become really quite compromised, really quite small as your baby grows more and obviously takes up more room within the body, and it's pushing all those organs out the way. Good news is later on, towards the end, when your baby drops, becomes lower into the pelvis, lower in the body, you get a little bit more space to breathe again. So just noticing the breath, and maybe noticing the breath against the inner side of the arms. So maybe you can feel where the rib cage is expanding out to the side as you inhale. Just pushing very gently against the insides of the arms, and as you exhale, just moving in down. Maybe you can feel the back ribs expanding. That nice stretch into the back ribs as you inhale. Feel them again drawing in, possibly down a little as you exhale. So between the ribs we have the intercostal muscles. So as you inhale, they're working, stretching, opening. And as you exhale, everything's just softening back and down. So just opening the eyes if you've had them closed, keeping the gaze nice and soft. So just kind of come into a twist. So you can take your left hand either around to the side of the chair or your ball, and your right hand across that left leg, and we're just sitting tall, exhaling, turning with the breath. Inhale to sit lovely and tall, exhaling to turn. Comfortable in the neck, you can look over that back shoulder. Just one more breath there, and then inhale back to center. So we spoke about how the baby, as the baby's growing, it starts to push higher up into the rib cage. It starts to really compromise your lung capacity. Twists also do that a little bit. So if you're finding you're a bit short of a breath, you can't take such a large breath in as we come into twisting. That's very natural, very normal, but that's why we don't stay in a twist too long. So just 2-3 breaths there and then coming back. You can always repeat more to each side. So we're going to come round to opposite side now. So finding, excuse me, I live next to a train track. So we're finding that height and we're exhaling round to the opposite side. So you can take the hand onto the ball, onto the chair, opposite hand against that thigh, inhaling, exhaling. So maybe noticing there the breath is a little shallower than normal. Stretch all the way up into the back of the neck as you look over the shoulder, and then inhale back to the center. So slowly coming up, you can push your ball or your chair to one side. And we're going to work the breath a little bit more now. So standing and lifting and spreading those toes, we're going to bring the hands into prayer position just in front of the chest. So making sure you've got space either side of you, because we're going to take the arms out to the side in a moment. So as we stand in this position, feel those inner arches lifting again, being aware of the ground beneath the feet and your centre of balance. So maybe just playing with that a little, taking the weight into the balls of the feet and back into the heels. And just finding your central point. And then with the hands in front of the chest, I'll just go side on so you can see. I've got the thumbs just sitting on the top of the chest there. And I'm going to lift the chest towards the thumbs. So rather than being rounded into this position like so, I'm lifting the chest towards the thumbs. That contact between the thumbs very lightly and the sternum. So I'm lifting and I'm opening the chest and heart, and I'm rolling those shoulders back and down. So you can lift through the shoulders and then encourage those shoulder blades back and down to the hips. And then if we put a little pressure into the palms of the hands, you can really feel that this is not just a passive posture, if you like. We're working quite hard here, and you can feel all the little muscles around the tops of the arms, underneath the armpit, and into the chest and the upper back, all switching on. So we're just going to drop the head here. So spend a moment just watching me if you need to. So with the head dropped towards the hand, I'm going to exhale. As I inhale, I'm opening up to allow that breath to fill the body. As I exhale, I'm coming back, and I am rounding the back a little bit now, just to drop the head and draw myself in, drawing the baby back towards the spine, pushing all that breath out, and then expanding and opening as I inhale. So join me when you're ready. We're exhaling, bringing the hands in, drawing baby in, giving it a big hug and a squeeze. Inhale, that breath's coming in. Exhale, coming back. So we've already spoken today about lung capacity and how different that can be for each and every lady at different stages during pregnancy. So don't hold the breath. If I'm doing this too slow for you because you're thinking I've already run out of out breath, I need to breathe in, don't hold the breath, just open wide and inhale. The important thing is we're matching a movement to our breath, our personal breath. So one more inhale and exhale. And then just release arms, just turning the palms towards the front, again relaxing and releasing the shoulders back and down. And allowing the breath to settle. So we're standing tall in Tadasana, in mountain pose. Front of the chest is lifting, feeling the energy coming all the way from the ground up, so through the feet, through the legs. Think about that tailbone just lengthening, growing tall through the spine, all the way into the ground. And then we're going to come down to our mat. So coming down in whatever way is comfortable for you. And just coming down into child pose for a moment. So you may find it more comfortable as you sit back, bottom to the heels, and take the knees wide to have a cushion there. And then we're just softening forward. And again, if this isn't working for you and you need to sit up, that's absolutely fine. You're just finding that comfortable spot where you can just rest the forehead either onto the hands, or the hands maybe supported by your blocks or a chair, just so that you can relax for a moment. And then slowly coming up. So just coming over onto all fours. Thinking about those knees, if you need a little blanket under there for support and comfort to do. And we're coming over into cat. So we've got wrists under elbows, under shoulders. We've got knees underneath the hips, and just a little space between the knees. And lifting and spreading the hands, so you can literally have the palms down, you can lift the fingers and just place them down one by one from the little finger all the way through to the thumb. So we've got that awareness of our foundations. So we're pushing into the hands a little bit, so you can see the difference. Hopefully, if I'm side on here, you can see the difference between me just hanging in those shoulders It's bringing a lot of tension, pinching in the back, upper back there, or lifting and opening. So more work now happening across the front of the chest, underneath the armpit chest area and through that upper back. And then just lengthening forward with the sternum. And I'm just tucking that tailbone under very slightly. So we've got a lovely straight back to start with. So taking a breath in there. As you exhale, tailbone and head tucking all the way under. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, squeezing under. Give that baby a really big hug again to push the breath out. And inhaling. So these couple of postures, the one where we've been standing and now our cat breath work, is all about linking a movement to the breath. So you heard in Natalia's story earlier how important the breath was. But it's not always easy to just sit and practice breath work. Often, particularly for beginners, it's a little bit easier to have it linked with a movement. So one more inhale. And exhale. So if you want to do a few more there, you can. Obviously you can always pause the video and have a little rest and then repeat. Otherwise we're just taking the pressure off the hands, off the wrists there. So you might find one particular way that I teach that just really makes sense to you. Sometimes just something just clicks and you think, oh yes, this really makes sense to me. This movement here really makes me understand that I'm inhaling and exhaling. Or it might be that cat position where we're inhaling and exhaling. It's just finding something that works for you and sticking with that. And then when you're in labour, hopefully that's just going to come to you. So if you start to lose the breath at all, if you become a little bit panicky or that adrenaline level rises and you're struggling to find that breath, it's great to maybe have shared it with your partner and said, look, if I get like that, just get me to do a few of these. Just start me off in that and I'll be on my way, finding that breath again, or in the cat position, or any of the other ones that we come to. So it's not that I'm teaching different sorts of breath, it's just different ways of connecting with your breath, okay? So we're going to work a little bit into the legs now, something a little different. So coming to lie on the edge of your mat. I'm just going to lie down and check that you can see me here. So you can either lie and be propped up on your shoulder, or on your elbow rather, underneath your shoulder, like so. Or if it's more comfortable for you, you can lay right down, stretching that arm out. You can always have a little bit of cushion under there as well. So just finding a comfortable position for you. But what we want to make sure is that we're in a straight line, okay, down through the body. So it's quite useful to maybe line the body up with the long edge of your mat. So I'm trying to keep one hip on top of the other here. Now, obviously you've got your baby in front of you here, and if you feel that there's too much of a drag over that way, you could always put a little bit of blanket underneath you. Again, just really thinking about how each posture is different for you and making it comfortable for you, okay? So maybe a little bit of support. You could always, just within an arm's reach there, you could always use a good old V-shaped cushion to put under you, maybe support under and have your belly on, okay? So using all the props that you might need. But what we want to make sure of, as I say, is that the legs are in a nice long straight line. And what's always my issue here is that my bottom starts to drag me over. So I find that my tendency is to roll back. Now, as I said, you've got that counterweight, so maybe a little bit easier for you to have that counterweight drawing you forwards. So legs in line, just resting that top arm wherever it's comfortable for you. And we're going to draw the toes up towards the head. So I want you to push into the heels, draw the toes up towards the head. So we're already working the hamstrings and the legs. Can feel them activating. And then leaving the bottom foot on the floor, we're going to lift that top leg. So we're starting to really work into that gluteus minimus, the side of the hip there, the side buttock, to lift the leg. Now, if you're able to take that supporting hand that may well be on the floor in front of you onto the side of the body, you can feel the obliques, the side of the waist really working. It's contracting to lift that leg as well. So giving that a really good squeeze up. And if this is relatively easy for you, you can always make it a little bit harder by taking the arm up towards the ceiling. It's just, you know, making the balance maybe a little bit harder. But no, you know, no medals for this. You can keep the hands on the floor, keep yourself supported if that's better for you. And then we're slowly lowering the leg. Lovely. Just taking a couple of breaths. And we're going to repeat that once more. So lifting the top leg, really work into the buttock, gluteus minimus and maximus. So you're working all around this outer hip area. Again, into those obliques, to the leg maybe a little bit higher. And just keeping an eye on which way the toes are going. So big toes might want to roll up towards the ceiling. If anything, you're rolling them down towards the floor. And as you do that, you'll really feel it working different muscles all the way up the legs. A lot harder. So a couple of nice big deep breaths there. And slowly bring it down and just have a little bend in the knees for a moment, just taking pressure off. And relaxing the breath. So we talk about not laying or avoiding as much as you can laying on your back when you're in labour, and this is always a good option to lay on your side, and you can, you know, in the same way use lots of pillows and things to make it comfortable. Laying on your sides can be another option. So we're going to straighten out those legs again, and then you're going to bend that upper leg. Now this is again going to be different for everybody. Okay, so you've got your baby's bump here, so you're just drawing that leg into the point that's comfortable for you. You can take the hand around the front of that shin and draw it in. So look at that position now. That's a great position to be opening and giving birth in. And you could have your partner behind you here supporting your leg for you, probably from underneath there. And you're leaning back onto them and they're telling you how wonderful you are, what a great job you're doing, etc. All that fantastic encouragement. So as a stretch, if we want to take it a little bit further, and you really don't have to go to this next stage, we can always just have a little play around and straighten that top leg. So you can support around the thigh or the calf, or if you bring the hand on the inside, you can possibly take hold of that big toe. So you'd be firing that baby out there across the room. So a couple of nice big deep breaths. Check you haven't got tension into the shoulders. And then we're slowly bending that knee, bring it down to the floor. And then just drawing the knees in, and you can come to the other side. So you can roll over to face the other way, or you can change ends on your mat. I'll give you a moment because I know it's not the quickest move. So we're looking for that straight line again. You can be up on the shoulder or relaxing away along the floor. And that top arm's really helpful to keep you balanced there. So trying to keep one hip on top of the other. We're going to lift that top leg. So keep an eye on the way the big toe's facing again. Just turn that big toe down towards the floor a little bit. What we're looking for is the big toe edge of the foot to be parallel with the floor. It tends to want to roll out. And then we're squeezing and working into the buttock, into the side hip. Again, you can feel the side of the waist contracting. If you can take your hand on there for a moment, you'll feel that tightening through the obliques. Couple of nice big deep breaths. And then slowly coming down. Just resting there and give the knees a little bend. And then we're going to come up again. So straight legs, toes up towards the head to start with. Feeling really activated all the way up from the soles of the feet into the groin. And then we're lifting top leg up. Here you can always take an arm up or onto the hip just to work that balance a little bit more. And then slowly coming down and just taking a rest. So this could be a good one to show your partner, to give them an idea of different positions for birth as well. So we can draw that knee in. So I'm really drawing the knee in and revolving all the way up into the hip to be able to open up. Now I've got quite tight hips, so I'm not as open as possibly some of you would be. Some of you, your knee will be right back here, lovely and open. And this will be a really kind of comfy, easy position for you to be in. Again, we can just maybe play around. A little bit of an extra stretch, Jane Fonda style. That shows my age. Probably none of you know who I'm talking about. So opening up. Keep working into that bottom leg. And then slowly bending and extending away. So we're going to draw both knees in, take the hands onto the floor, moving ourselves round into child pose. So we're taking the knees really wide. Again, use your cushion or block between the feet and the bottom and slowly releasing back. From here, slowly coming up, and we'll roll around into the shoulders, lifting through the sternum. And then we're just going to come forward and have a little bit of movement into the hips before we come down to relax. So you can simply come over onto all fours again and take the knees really wide and just have a roll down there. Okay. I would suggest putting a little bit of extra padding under those knees for that one, so that, you know, as you move over that kneecap, it's not getting sore. It's another one where it's quite nice to use the ball. I put my padding under my knees, just a rolled up or folded blanket or towel will be good. And then coming over the ball, or you can, you know, you could use a footstool or something with some cushions on, just so you've got a little bit of lift through the body, because then we're using gravity more in the right direction, if you like, to encourage your baby down this way for a position for labour. But you can lean into the ball and just start to get a little movement through the hips. So there's no set way of doing this, there's no right or wrong. It's just listening to what feels good for you. So just rolling it out with the ball, or, as I said before, on all fours. If you're doing this in labour, it might be nice to, as I just said, get a little bit more height while you're doing it, you know, over something. Just easing out, rolling any tension away from that lower back. And then we're going to come down to the mat to relax. So it might be nice to have a blanket over you. Body does tend to cool down quite quickly. Might be good to have something underneath your bump, yeah, a folded blanket or towel, a cushion, or, you know, that V-shaped cushion, maybe between the knees as well. It's quite nice to have that support there, maybe something under the head. So making yourself really comfortable. I'm just going to come up to sitting while you relax down. So laying on your left side, and just getting any movements out the way, really checking that you are comfortable and you're able to relax and switch off for a moment. So closing the eyes, just bringing the mind to your breath once more. So in yoga we do our posture work, our asanas, so that we are able to then maybe more easily come to relax, to find that point of being able to switch off, that point of really letting go of both the body and the mind, so releasing ourselves from all the thoughts that are busy around, and releasing the body and softening the muscles, quietening and relaxing. So just noticing where you've been working today and softening and relaxing. Maybe the outside of the hips, maybe those long thigh muscles. The shoulders released away from the ears. And allow the arms and the legs to become heavy and soft. And taking your mind to your face. Maybe giving the face a bit of a stretch out, maybe opening the jaw, pushing the chin away, and a big kind of smile. And then sucking those cheeks in, those lips in. And then releasing. And really letting go of all the muscles around the jaw now. Soften up the sides of the jaw, from under the chin, up the sides of the face, to the ears, to the temples, and across the forehead. Soften the eyebrows, eyelids, eyelashes. So there's no judgments. You don't have to live up to anyone's expectations right now. It's just you, your baby, and your breath. So just noticing your baby snuggled in with you there. They're listening to your breath, listening to all the inside gurglings and sounds of your body. Already knowing in their own way that your mum. These sounds are that are making them feel loved and safe and secure. The sound of your heart. The rhythm, personal rhythm of your breath. It's a little lullaby. Allowing your mind to just follow your breath. Just noticing each inhale and exhale. So anytime you start to drift off into maybe what you should be doing later or should have done this morning, just bring the mind back to the breath. Bring the mind back to this very moment, this particular inhale and exhale, completely unique and precious. And then slowly becoming aware of how you're feeling. Keeping the eyes closed, just being aware of where you are. Maybe noticing any sounds in the room or beyond. Maybe allowing yourself a little inward smile as you take your mind back down to your baby. I'm reminded then of Natalia's words when she spoke about that precious time she had when she knew she'd gone into labour, but before waking up her husband, alerting the world to the news. Just have that moment, that quiet moment, kind of looking forward to what was to come. And then just beginning to take a few deeper breaths. Beginning to awaken your body. Breathing out to the toes and the fingers. Any little movement, having a little stretch, doing whatever feels right for you. And then in your own time, just coming up to sitting, just sitting comfortably. So finding that connection with the ground, either through the soles of the feet, if you're sitting on your birth ball or a chair, or down through the sitting bones, if you're sitting on the floor. Lifting the sternum, relaxing the shoulders back and down. And then just taking the hands either side. Just slowly, if you haven't yet, just slowly opening the eyes. And then when you're ready, spreading the fingers. And inhaling, drawing the arms all the way up. And exhaling to your heart. Namaste. Love and peace to you all. So thank you again for joining me today. I will endeavour in the next few days to put up a little video with some massage ideas and tips in. Just got to talk my teenage son into being a pregnant woman, so watch this space. It will give you a giggle if nothing else. Next couple of weeks we're going to be hearing Sabrina and Holly's story, so looking forward to sharing their wonderful news with you. Please keep all your messages, all your birth stories coming in. Really interesting to start to think about bringing baby home actually, and it just being you and your partner. We've talked a lot before about the protocol of when you bring your baby home and not having loads of visitors, but yeah, a little bit different at the moment, so that would be an interesting one to think about. So in the meantime, take care, lots of love, and see you soon. Bye.